Hello and welcome to Lift the Lid Leadership 423. My name is Matt Yeager and I'll be your host for this. And you are here for a very special moment. This is the inaugural broadcast that we're going to be doing here, and I'm really excited about the opportunity here. Now, you're probably wondering, what in the world am I doing in an attic? Well, that's the whole point of this podcast, is that we want to lift the lid off of our leadership. We want to raise it, and we want to end those glass ceilings. And I'm going to share a little bit about my story today, but then in the future, we'll be getting into some very specific things. But my journey took a lot of twists and turns, and I got to admit, I was not a very good leader at the beginning, even though I thought that I was. But we're going to base this off of really one premise, and that is that each of us has a unique purpose. Each of us has a unique dreams that we have that we're looking for. And there's a proverb from the books of Proverbs that says that we need to guard our hearts because out of it flows all of the issues of life. And that's really the truth, is our belief system. What is inside of us that we believe in, and whatever those beliefs are actually lead to certain actions. And this is the whole point, is, we might say we believe something, but if our actions are different from our belief system, then that's really not our belief system. Our belief system actually shows what our actions are. So when we do certain things, it shows what we really believe. Whether it be when we think certain things, it actually reflects what we believe. And so a lot of what we're going to be talking about is how we think and how we need to process and move forward, but even how we evaluate ourselves and our own leadership in the process. I can tell you my journey was really interesting because, as a young guy, as a young athlete, I found myself just very competitive, and I was always wanting to be at the top. I loved being the underdog. I loved just competing away. And so on a lot of my sports teams, I ended up being the captain on the team. I just had this intensity and drive to just move forward. And as I grew and got a little bit older, I had some more opportunities. I found myself, even with our church youth group, in some leadership roles there. And as I got into college with the organization that I was involved with on campus, I also developed into some leadership roles there. And my family, my father and grandfather have both been pretty strong leaders as well. So I just thought, this was just part of the whole family process, that I was going to be another leader, and I was just going to work my way up to the top. So as I got out of college, I started my first job. I actually got my degree in accounting, got my CPA degree, and as I began working in the CPA field, I loved doing taxes, but I didn't find purpose in it. And so I had this dilemma, like, what do I do? And I made a decision one day, you know what? It's time to move on from my tax job and to get into a role where I was investing in people. So I began making that transition. And shortly thereafter, I joined an organization that I spent a lot of years with. And as I developed early on in that organization, I found some real big leadership challenges. And some of those challenges were being criticized in a real big way for actions that I had taken, that I thought I was doing what I was expected to do. And in some cases, I was doing what I was expected to do, and still ended up getting some pretty negative feedback going in. And so as I developed, I remember one of my early roles, and I thought, all right, what I'm going to do here in this organization is I'm going to work my way up. I'm going to be the president of this organization. That was my role. I'm going to get in there and be top down, and then I can tell people what to do and how to do it, and everything would be really good. And as I got into this, I remember sitting down with our HI guy, our HI person, and he was sharing with me. His name was Harvey Plug, and he was just a really wise man. And I remember him, he was a little bit older than I was and had just a lot of life experience. I remember him sitting down with me and saying, "Matt, we really see you as a good middle management type person." And I'm not sure if he thought that was to encourage me, which he maybe thought it was, but it actually discouraged me. But like, middle management, I'm not really middle management material. Man, I want to be at the top. And I remember just wrestling with this, like, what's going on here? Because I really thought I was on this trajectory. But one of the things he shared with me was something that actually comes from John Maxwell that he's taught a lot. One of the probably the premier leadership gurus of our time is that leadership is influence and not position. And to me, that was a whole new mind-boggling shift and paradigm shift that I had never ever considered before. Leadership is influence. And I began chewing on that a little bit because I always thought that it was about position because then you could tell people what to do. Whereas now I was being challenged with this thought of, oh, influence. If I have influence, I can actually begin impacting people without the position. But it took me a lot of years to really figure that out and work that out as to what that looked like. So as I progressed along my career, I had some other situations where I had leadership opportunities, and again, some negative stuff happened. I remember one leadership position where I was really put in an awkward position, and I was trying to make some changes, and probably a little bit too quick, and just because of my aggressive nature. And it created some more tension within the organization. I actually got demoted and ended up leaving that job as a result, um, because I was handed a very difficult situation and wasn't given the time to work it out. But that was again part of my journey. And actually later on, I went back to that organization after I'd grown a little bit more and had an opportunity to work some of those issues out. But I remember even one time having a boss that really didn't understand me. He was very, very focused on getting the mission done and more trying to fit me to the job than fitting the job to me. I remember him telling me, "Stay in your lane." I'm like, that's not who I'm thinking to myself, that's not who I am. I'm not a stay in the lane guy, like just blah, 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 do your thing. I'm a connector. I can connect resources with needs, and I'm a visionary guy. And there's a lot of different pieces that I knew came under my makeup. And so I served, a couple of long stints with some large organizations. And what kept ended up happening is I just didn't fit very well in there. And I had to actually end up getting out and launching my own organization. And when I did that, early on, I struggled immensely, but through a lot of trial and error, later on began to understand a flow as to how that could work. And now I'm really enjoying that role, that freedom of leading an organization, but having now the experience and the backdrop of how that all looked. And so we're gonna walk along this journey together here. I hope you stick around with it. This is the first shot here at a podcast. It's probably going to be really bad from your perspective, but please stick with me. We'll get better as we go along here, and this will be a lot of fun for all of us. So thank you for joining me, and we really want you to lift the lid of your leadership and allow your heart and what's been put in your heart to be expressed to the fullness of your God-given abilities. And so take care. Have a great rest of your day.